The next speaker is the Honorable Gail Texiera. You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm very glad to have had Mr. Jordan come before me, because in all the debate we've been trying to solicit from the government what was its rationale for taking items that were zero rated and make them exempt. And if there's nothing that this motion succeeds in doing, is having allowed Minister Jordan to have the floor to explain to us and the Guyanese people why the government chose this path. And so if we succeed in anything, sir, I don't mind being called crocodile or that we're wasting the time of this House. This is Opposition Day. It is a private member's day. And this is a matter of great importance to the Guyanese people who want to know what is going on. They want answers, including your own supporters who voted for you, that want to know, why have you done this? Why have you taken items that are zero rated and put them on exempt? You see, I've listened to Mr. Jordan, and I appreciate, sir, your explanations. I don't agree with them, nor do I believe them, but I'm very glad that you use the opportunity to present them here, because I understand the complexity of trying to maintain your manifesto promises and the difficulties you've encountered. And you're right, that social policy is difficult. But we're not in Guyana dealing with a problem like in other countries, including some of our Caribbean countries that took on VAT, and a lot of the items were VATable. What Guyana did after VAT and shortly after VAT is that we went and incrementally kept zero rating items. And the zero rating, I repeat, because sometimes even you, sir, Mr. Jordan, seem to have forgotten that some of these items were zero rated, and that the zero rating, and you know that there are basically three types of VAT, the standard and the zero rating and the exempt. And that you, sir, are more knowledgeable than many people in this room that the issue of under the new system, where most zero-rated items have become exempt, input VAT cannot be reclaimed. And this will result in the increase of prices of many basic commodities. That's the point we're making. When the items are standard supplies, that is VATable, and or zero-rated supplies, where the producer, manufacturer, maker is able to get a refund on VAT once it is zero rated and it goes through all the paperwork with the Commissioner General, and the consumer pays no VAT. In this case, what you've done, sir, is that you've moved items that were zero rated to exempt. Therefore, producer, manufacturer, importer now pays VAT but can't claim a refund, and where the consumer now doesn't pay VAT, but they will pay the indirect costs, because the man has to get back his money, man or woman has to get back their money somehow. And so that's the point we're making, and it seems to have not renovated with you, that the government needs to consider seriously. I understand what the minister is saying about CARTAC and all these tax reform committees and Duke studies. We had many of these, and there were many studies of them. And one of the issues is, what is the litmus test is what is the impact on the general population? What's your litmus test as a government? Do these things you do improve the economy, incentivize the economy, kickstart the economy? Does it make the quality of life people better? Does it make things easier? Is the good life more attainable, as you promote, with the moving zero-rated items to exempt? If in your minds you have passed this litmus test, you have answered these issues, then clearly the public will decide whether they agree with you. But the issue is that the zero-rated items being moved to exempt have put more burdens on people and has unfavorable impacts on people, particularly the very poor and vulnerable, the people in the interior, people in the riverine areas, rural people, as well as business and the economy. The Honourable Minister says, and I have his speech here from the December 9th, the last closing speech, and he's right. But he left again. You see, little words get left out. You know, we had the other day, we're still dealing with the meaning of or. We're now dealing in this meeting with by or for. Now in this case, we're dealing with the minister's speech where he does report on Cartac, as he said just now. But what is it that says in his speech? This is what the Honourable Minister says. He paraphrased it today, and I appreciate his paraphrasing it, but the paraphrasing sometimes doesn't do justice to what I believe he was doing in his budget speech. Consider reduction in the standard rate to 15%, 14%, or 13%, phased in if more than 1 percentage point, only if the base is broadened simultaneously to reduce revenue risk. The operative word is only. That if you're going to go in this way to reduce it and do all these things, you have to deal with your tax base, not your VAT base, your tax base being broadened. In addition to that, the other part about zero rating, one of the things of the same Cartac, which somehow didn't come out, is that protect the elimination of the zero-rated treatment of the foodstuff against pressure to revert to that treatment by developing a refundable compensation to low-income households. I haven't heard anything like that coming out from the government at all. So I understand your predicaments, Minister, but the issues are that VAT was able to incorporate a number of taxes to reduce the bureaucracy. It was also able to make clear that what were the essential items that people needed. Now, the Honourable Member just said something, I don't think he appreciated what he said, when he said indirect tax, only if you choose to consume. Okay, let's take that. I choose to consume rice. I think I need to have rice to eat. It's a staple. Therefore, I will now pay the consequences of it now moving from zero to exempt. And therefore the choice is, you're saying to people on your essential items, if the minister were to say to me, MP Gail, if you choose to live in a Cadillac and you want a Cadillac, you must pay the consequences. Of course, you must pay the taxes for that. But if you're telling the ordinary people and all of us in this house that you must choose to consume, are you saying to Guyanese people don't eat rice? Don't eat flour, don't make roti, don't make cook-up? What is that? But that's what you said, sir. And on this VAT, on this motion, we're dealing with essential food items that were moved from zero to exempt. And so, y'all are, Minister, it is very clear. I really honestly say to you, sir, I believe you need to explain to your colleagues the difference between exempt and zero, and what the law says and what the VAT Act says. Unless you're amending the VAT Act, you're quite within your order, sir, and the Cabinet to amend the VAT Act that says even when we move things from zero to exempt, there will be no VAT applicable. You can do whatever you want, you're the government. But until that happens, we're dealing with the Act and the amendments and the orders as is today, on January 30th. So it's regrettable that the minister makes a really insensitive statement that you will face indirect tax only if you choose to consume. So if the minister were to say jewelry and expensive items and whatever, you know, but if he's saying that a person who has cancer, you're telling them they choose to consume. You're telling their families they choose to consume. What kind of thing is this? When someone is ill, the family tries to do everything, including pawning their jewelry, borrowing money, whatever it is to be able to take care of. So when you have removed essential services, medical, laboratory, educational services, and made them exempt, and you're saying to the people who run these services, you pay the VAT, but you're getting no refund, by the way. Do you really believe that the people producing these services are not going to say to the consumer, you can pay $1,000 more or $2,000 more? Because in the meantime, they have to pay VAT as well as on water, electricity, etc. Mr. Speaker, the government, regrettably, does not wish to consider, other opinions. And I just quote, to repeat something I said earlier in my budget speech. And that is that, a person that the government had used to do forensic audits, Mr. Gulsaran, Anand Gulsaran, stated in relation to budget 2015. And this was his caution. This was his caution. And he said we must avoid using the majority status in the Assembly to vote down well-intentioned, meaningful, and justifiable suggestions for improvement. We must rise above partisan political interests and put the interests of the country and its citizens first, unquote. And so that is what a person's saying, that's saying, look, don't close your mind to suggestions. I brought up the parking meter story, and lo and behold, it's right. I'm right. And the minister says they will do something about it. I look forward to that, and so do all the people who have paid VAT on the parking meters for the last few days, and I hope they'll get a refund. But nevertheless, the card is, you get to pay that, and then when you put it in the machine, VAT is being charged, is being deducted again. So, no, I don't have a car, so I don't have to park. I don't own a car, so I don't have to park. But I'm very fearful. I saw something on Facebook recently where they were saying that the city council noticed that the public were not using the parking meters and were parking elsewhere. And so it was a joke. We're saying the city council may be introducing a walking tax for pedestrians. So that may be a next tax coming. But Mr. Speaker, it is very clear that this decision, and just before I close, I want to say this. If the government and Minister Jordan, as the spokesperson on this issue, had said during the budget debate that, look, we want to come with some new things. We want to zero-rate some new things. We want to do some new things. And most likely would have got our support on a number of things, as we did with the 14%, as we did with a number of areas. However, when you look at the order number 18, there is nothing new there except 4 things. And I want to highlight them to show to me what are the priorities. So other than taking 90% of all the zero-rated items and make them exempt, there are only 4 new areas or 4 amended areas. One, in section 4 of the order, it brings in a new thing about packaging, importation of packaging materials, right? To be used in the production of goods which will be subsequently exported by a taxable person, etc., 50%. So that's a new thing. That's a new thing. And the following clauses, C and D, that come after that. So in section 4, you have a new zero rate. Then you have in the exempted, you have now new things. And what are the new things in the exempted area? The one about the vehicles, motor vehicles for the president, for and by the president and for and by the prime minister. That's new, very new. The new one on exempted for renewable sources, excluding now households. And the third area that's new, it's that imported items for use by or for free distribution by charity or NGOs will be exempt. That's new. So in all of this discussion about social policy and making things fair for people and these wicked people out there who get these dispensations and then still make the poor people pay, there is nothing in this order that actually reflects that whatsoever. In fact, what it reflects is very narrow interests that are brought in as brand new, 1 0 and 3 exempt, and the rest are all what people benefited from over 2008 to now and helped to cushion when Guyana was facing in part of the global economic and financial crisis, and that it helped It helped tremendously. Social policy, sir, is made with very difficulty. I appreciate that and I agree with you. But it has to do with, you know, how a government governs and what is governance. And if you have the power, are you are you governing on behalf of all the people, or are you governing for something else, or for self-interest? And that's a question your electorate will decide for you. But Mr. Speaker, in closing, I just want to say that the Guyanese people are feeling tremendous pressures and are very worried. And in addition to these orders, this order, we've had the Demerara toll bill increase, we've had the parking meters, we've had the rental increases for farmers in the MMA, we've had 12 new tax bills, regulations and orders, including the one today. We have, sir, fuel prices going up. We've had the parking meters issue, and terms are now corrected. So, Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, in conclusion, we have no doubt that these measures are irresponsible, reckless, senseless, anti-poor, anti-development, and will hurt most of all the poor and vulnerable in our country, but it will also impact on all the people of this country, and worst of all, the economy. These measures, sir, will do nothing to develop or incentivize the economy, nothing to improve the earning and spending power of the people, nothing to elevate people's quality of life. And certainly, sir, in terms of your own objective, your own promise to the people of a good life, this will get people not a good life, but a reversal, a bad life, a poor life. It will reverse whatever good there was in existence. To cushion the impact of the ordinary poor people and vulnerable, and to help women in particular as entrepreneurs, as small business people. Even, sir, they have not left out the river transport. Imagine now it's exempt for river transport and air transport. But I don't know now if they expect the people crossing the rivers with ferries and boats now have to get VAT and have to get all these things. This is ridiculous. So the impact, whatever was good, you know what they say? They say that don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. I know if your mother ever tell you them things. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. What working? Left it. Don't trouble what's working. And the zero rated on VAT was working to cushion the impact for our people and to help spur on new industries and development. What you have done is the reverse. You're hurting all of that. So, Mr. Speaker, we call on the government in our motion to repeal the order number 18 and to reinstate all the items that were zero rated previously to order number 18. Thank you, sir.
I thank the honourable member for her statement. The motion is proposed. I shall now put the motion. Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, please say no. No. The noes have it. Motion is lost.